Welcome to Today in Prophecy Daily News. In 15 minutes or less, news from the biblical perspective. Man, unbelievable things are happening. Israel is on fire. What is the cause of that? Is it terrorists? Homebuyer mortgage demand drops further as economic uncertainty roils the housing market. What about Spain and Portugal? Net zero madness. Spain's reliance on solar energy blamed for massive nationwide power cut. Check this out. Arkansas becomes first state to ban agencies from saying West Bank. Mark Zuckerberg warns a day of reckoning is coming for one of the biggest scams in America. And then there's this, Germany's last chance. Only an anti-Islamic government can save the nation. And check this out. Democrat governor calls for mass protest against Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. Well, let's start here. Let's look at Israel. So Israel is on fire. So what's really going on there? Check out a couple of posts that are out there. Look at this first one. Posters in Arabic clearly indicate who is responsible for the fires. They urge that all Israelis referred to as settlers be reduced to ashes beneath the feet of Arabs. And then there's this other one, Israel's police. We recently arrested an East Jerusalem resident Arab while he was trying to start a fire in an open field in the south of the city. Folks, as we look at Israel, Israel is on fire. This is reminiscent of what happened in Los Angeles, what happened in Maui. Wildfires halt main Independence Day event as blazes sweep across Israel. Mass evacuations, road closures, and rising injuries prompt Israel to declare highest fire alert. Greece and Cyprus send emergency firefighting assistance. Multiple wildfires broke out on Wednesday across Israel amid soaring temperatures and fierce winds, forcing evacuations, road closures, and the cancellation of Independence Day torch lighting ceremony. A lot more to say about this, but I look at it and listen, multiple fires. As I said, in Los Angeles, listen, I live in a fire area about 2 hours outside of Los Angeles, but fires don't just start. Lightning might be involved or electric lines or something like that, but you just don't have fires that start simultaneously in different areas, and it just doesn't happen. They're deliberately lit. And you'll look at this, and it seems like the Israeli police have caught some people attempting to light fires. It doesn't make sense unless you start looking at this from the speculation of arsons. In fact, this goes on and says police reportedly arrested or detained 3 suspects in connection with the fires. The suspects, who were not identified or described in initial media reports, were arrested within several hours of the fires. According to widespread Hebrew news reports, the Israel security agency Shin Bet joined in the investigation into the fires, suggesting authorities believe the fires were a result of terrorist arson attacks. For me, it's a no-brainer. Again, if you're in a fire area, you know fires don't just start because it gets hot. I live where it gets exceptionally hot, and fires don't just start because it's 115 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Listen, especially when you have multiple places. And then check this out. We posted earlier today on our social media, pray for Israel regarding the fires. Started looking at some of the comments. Here's one of the comments, just one of them. As we see anti-Semitism just growing, this person writes, burn, 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 burn. The Nazi period of the familiar and distinct scent of incinerated Jews may fill the air again, as long as it is the Zionists. There we go. The incinerated Jews. And it's just, I'm telling you, anti-Semitism, folks, is getting worse and worse and worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. And we know biblically the whole world's going to be gathered against Israel. And when you speak of Israel, you're not just speaking of the land, but also the people, the boundaries of the nation of Israel. You're speaking of the whole package with the 12 tribes of Jacob. The whole world will turn against Israel. You see a comment like this and you say, pray for Israel, and this comes across your social media, and it's just tons of comments like this. Just unbelievable. And also says, as long as it's a Zionist, and what's being said, the narrative is something like this. We're not anti-Jew, we're not anti-Semitic, we are anti-Zion. Well, listen, go back and do a little bit of biblical research on what Zion is and who says Zion is there and who God gave the Zion to. And he says the 12 tribes of Jacob, they're going to inhabit the land, and the Messiah is going to come again to rule and reign from Zion. And you look at this and go, wait a minute, God is the one who created the word Zion. He's the one who created Zionism. And to have somebody say, I'm not anti-Jew, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just anti-Zionist, let it all burn. Listen, that's about as anti-Semitic as you can get, especially when God says Zion is his, and he has given it to the people of Israel. But folks, even in this, I mean, October 7th, 2023, all of a sudden anti-Semitism, you start seeing it explode all over the world. Right now with the fires burning in Israel, more and more anti-Semitism, and it's coming from people not just on the left, but also on the right, not just college campuses, but it's coming from all over the place. But praise God, God is on the throne. Israel will always stand. The Jew is never going to go away. That might bother some folks, and it does bother some folks, but that's the truth, and that is what the Bible teaches. Moving on from there, CNBC reports homebuyer mortgage demand drops further as economic uncertainty roils the housing market. Friends, as we look at what's going on with the economy, listen, we know when you come to the time of the tribulation period, the economy is going to absolutely collapse. We are not there yet, but it is coming. There may be a hiccup before we even get to the tribulation period, where the economy has a great downturn, then it comes back up, and then has a major crash. But the implications from the Bible when it comes to the tribulation period is that Jesus himself said it'll come at a time when you least expect it, when you're not expecting it. In other words, when things are clipping along and pretty good, and things are going pretty good, people are buying and selling and giving in marriage and all these types of things. But nevertheless, what do we see? Jesus is the one who keeps all things together, and it is not going to collapse, regardless of what the world powers may want, as I think much is manipulated, but it is not going to collapse until Jesus says, now is the time of collapse. Whenever that is, he holds the time in his hands. Just as it is with Revelation chapter 17, and you have the 10 kings who give their power and authority to the beast. And you look at these 10 evil kings that the Bible speaks of, and the Antichrist, this evil leader. Nevertheless, a few verses after that in Revelation chapter 17, the Bible says that God put it into the hearts of these kings, these 10 kings, to give their power and authority to the beast in order to bring about his prophetic purposes and to fulfill his plan. So God is the sovereign one. He is in complete control. Going back to the fires, Israel is always going to be here. The Jew is always going to be here, just as Mark Twain also noted many, many decades ago. And as we look at the economy, it's not going to collapse until God says now. Breitbart reports net zero madness, Spain's reliance on solar energy blamed for massive nationwide power cut. You start thinking about what happens when power goes out. Spain and Portugal definitely faced with it. Trains stopped, airports stopped, everything came to a screeching halt. Nothing suddenly works. Refrigerators don't work. Nothing that's connected to electricity works. Elevators stop working. Everything stops working. In fact, I read reports that within an hour, people started, groceries aren't being delivered. You can't charge for groceries. Cash registers aren't working. The only thing that's working, by the way, this is interesting, was radios. As long as you got a battery-powered radio, keep that in mind, because nothing else is working. All electrical things, so you couldn't get news that you might normally get, whether it be social media or TV or something like that. But radios that are run by battery, they can still keep updated on what in the world was going on. It's a reminder for you and I, as we see the powers that be say, hey, we've all got to be connected by electricity. And here, this report says you can blame it on the net zero policies, but regardless of what the reason is, You get everybody on electricity, guess what? You can shut down everything and manipulate the masses of people. Next report, this comes out of JNS News, Jerusalem News Service. Arkansas becomes first state to ban agencies from saying West Bank. Folks, that is remarkable. It is not the West Bank. It is Judea and Samaria. It was Hadrian who in 135 AD changes the name of Judea and Samaria to Palestina, which gives us our English word Palestine 100 years after Christ. And the attempt was to humiliate the Jews and destroy the name of the Jews in the name of Israel, just like people are trying to do today, falling into the category of Hadrian. So let that sink in. It is Judea and Samaria. It's not the West Bank. These are spiritual attempts to get rid of the Jews and get rid of the history of the nation of Israel and the history of the Jewish people. But Israel is always going to stand. By the way, check this out. I am going to be speaking in Hemet, California this coming Sunday morning. You can join me if you're in the Hemet area. Check out the events page. I'm also going to be Lake Stevens, Seattle area coming up at the end of this month, at the end of May, excuse me. I'll be there. And then the week after that, first weekend of June, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be in the Phoenix, Arizona area. We also have Santa Barbara coming up, Dallas, Fort Worth area coming up, and a couple of Israel trips, plus many more things. Go to the events page for any information you want. You can read about things that are happening, where we'll be, what's going on, different itineraries. Check them out. It's at the events page, hopeforourtimes.com, or also on the app. Just go there, click on events, and check the different things. Would love to meet you sometime. Moving on from there, Mark Zuckerberg warns a reckoning is coming for one of the biggest scams in America. The student loan bubble is about to burst, and Zuckerberg knows it. He says there's one huge problem with college today that no one can ignore anymore. The day of reckoning is coming with the whole student loan issue. Wow. Check this out. Moving on from there, Germany's last chance. Only an anti-Islamic government can save the nation. Look at that. Let that sink in. Germany will either stand up with a strong anti-Islamic government or collapse into a nation where Jews, freedom, and civilization itself are erased. Germany stands at a crossroads. One road leads to survival and the preservation of its constitutional promise of never again. The other leads to surrender to Islam, anti-Semitism, and the death of Germany's soul. There is no more room for denial. Germany needs a strong, openly anti-Islamic government now, or it will cease to be a safe nation for Jewish people, Germans, or anyone committed to freedom. Wow. Check this out. Harbinger's Daily reports Democrat governor calls for mass protests against Republicans. They cannot know a moment of peace. Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker seemingly launching his bid for the 2028 Democratic presidential nomination called for mass protests and disruption in an apparent effort to outflank other potential candidates with aggressive rhetoric against the Trump administration. So you can't let Republicans know a moment of peace. Isn't that some kind of call to violence? I mean, look, if they can't know any peace, isn't that what it is? Isn't that some kind of terrorist threat? I'm just asking. All right? I mean, look at this. Wow. Interesting. It's a reminder where Jesus said lawlessness will abound. People do whatever it is for their power. Last story, desecrated Jewish grave and attacks on Druze. Syria's government struggles to rein in Islamist forces. Druze in Syria are calling for the help of Israel, the IDF, to come to their rescue, come to their protection. They've done it. They're saying, please come. They want to destroy us. They want to kill us. Please help us, Israel. I firmly believe Israel will help them. In fact, they have already been helping them. Listen, again, join me coming up, Lake Stevens up in Washington, also Phoenix, Arizona. Check out all of the different things we have on the events page. Santa Barbara, California, Dallas, Fort Worth. Go to the events page, check it out. God bless you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.